so great to be here with everyone. As always, this is just such a refuge this weekend, especially during Parshat Noah, when we seek refuge in the ark. And in the same way, we seek refuge from the week during this Shabbat. And with that, I just want to make sure that I thank Annie for putting this together, that we all thank her for putting our prayer service together every week so beautifully, and for participating. And Rick, your music, of course, brings us to another level. And with that, our opening song, Psalm 96.
We shall begin. Yiram hayamum lo, Yiram hayamum lo, Tevel veyoshveva, Yiram hayamum lo, Yiram hayamum lo, Yiram hayamum lo, Tevel veyoshveva, Yiram hayamum lo, Naharot imcha uchaf, Yala lai 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 lai, Yachar harim yaraneinu, Naharot imcha uchaf, Yala lai 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 lai, Yachar harim yaraneinu, Yiram hayamum lo, Yiram hayamum lo, Tevel veyoshveva, Yiram hayamum lo, Naharot imcha uchaf, Yala lai 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 lai, Yachar harim yaraneinu, Yaharim imcha uchaf, Yala lai 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 lai, Yachar harim yaraneinu, Yiram hayamum lo, Yiram hayamum lo, Tevel veyoshveva, Yiram hayamum lo.
Who does not hunger for friendship, for understanding, for warmth and love? Hazak, hazak, benit, hazek. Let us lend strength to one another and pray for the welfare of this community.
Mod ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, shehechezarta binishmati bechemla, bechemla, Rabba emunatecha, Rabba emunatecha, Mod ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, shehechezarta binishmati bechemla, bechemla, Rabba emunatecha, Rabba emunatecha. Haleli nafshi et Adonai, Haleli nafshi et Adonai, Haleli nafshi et Adonai, Haleli nafshi et Adonai, Hallelujah, 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 ah, hallelujah. Adonai bechayayi Azamira Elohai be'odi Ahalila Adonai bechayayi Azamira Elohai Azamira Elohai Azamira Elohai be'odi Haleli nafshi et Adonai Haleli nafshi et Adonai Haleli nafshi et Adonai Haleli nafshi et Adonai Matovu, Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Matovu, Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael Va'ani berov chastecha Avod beitecha Eshtacha ve'elechol kodshecha Be'yiratecha Matovu Matovu Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Matovu, Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Mishkenotecha Yisrael.
We continue on page 194. Please read with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatzar et ha'adam bechokma, uvra bo nekavim nekavim, halulim halulim. Galui v'yedua lifnei chisei chivodecha, she'im yipateach echad mehem, o yisatem echad mechem, I afshar l'hitkayem v'la'amod lefanecha. Baruch atah Adonai rofech chol basar umafli la'asot. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. We continue.
Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Neshama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Neshama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Tehorahi, 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 Tehorahi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher V'kiddushanu v'mitzvotav v'tzivanu La'asok b'divrei Torah La'asok b'divrei Torah La'asok b'divrei Torah La'asok b'divrei Torah La'asok b'divrei Torah.
Continue at the bottom of page 205. I invite you to read with me. From the cowardice that shrinks from new truth, from the laziness that is content with half truth, from the arrogance that thinks it knows all truth, O God of truth, deliver us. Blessed is Adonai, teacher of Torah, to your people, Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, hamlamed Torah le'amo Yisrael.
אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור, שאדם אוכל פירותיהם בעולם הזה, והקרן קיימת לו לעולם הבא, ואלו הם, ואלו כיבוד המים וגמילות חסדים והשכמת בית המדרש שחרית וערבית והכנסת אורחים וביקור חולים ותלמוד תורה כנגד כולם אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור, שאדם אוכל פירותיהם בעולם הזה, והקרן קיימת לו לעולם הבא, ואלו הם, ואלו והכנסת קלה ולוויית המת ועיון תפילה והבאת שלום בין אדם לחברו ותלמוד תורה כנגד כולם אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור, שאדם אוכל פירותיהם בעולם הזה, והקרן קיימת לו לעולם הבא, ואלו הם, ואלו הם, ואלו יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא דברכותי ועל מחמקותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה ברכו לעילן מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא Veimeru Amen. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
We continue on page 228. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvarech choshech, oseh shalom uvarech et hakol, hameir la'aretz ve'ladarim alecha berachamim, utuvo mechadesh bechol yom tamid, maaseh v'reshit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam bechokma asita, mala haaretz kinyanecha, titbarach Adonai Eloheinu, al shevach maaseh yadecha, ve'al me'orei or she'asita, yeferu asela, or hadash al tzion ta'ir v'nizkechu lanu, mehira l'roro. Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer hamarot. Praised are you, Adonai, creator of all heavenly lights.
Ahava Rabbah, Ahavtani Adonai. Ahava Rabbah, Ahavtani Adonai. Ahava Rabbah, Ahavtani Adonai. Ahava Rabbah, Ahavtani Adonai. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'vetecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha u'shartam le'ot ayadecha v'hayu latotafot beinenecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, Daber el bnei Yisrael, ve'amarta alehem, v'asu lahem tzitzit, al kanfei vigdehem ledorotam, v'natnu al tzitzit hakanaf, petil techelet, v'haya lechem, litzitzit, uri'item oto, uzkartem et kol mitzvot Adonai, va'asitem otam, v'lo taturu, acharei levavchem, ve'acharei enechem, asher atem zonim achareihem. Leman tizkuru, v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'iten kedushim lalechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem l'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, emet.
And I ask Brett Harris to read the eternal truth as we answer responsively.
The eternal truth is that you alone are God and there is none else.
May the righteous of all nations rejoice in your love and exult in your justice.
Let them beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks.
Let nation not lift up sword against nation, nor learn war anymore.
You shall not hate your brother or your sister in your heart.
The stranger that sojourns with you shall be accepted as your equal, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
Why do you crush my people and oppress the poor? Asked God.
You know that the Eternal One defends the poor and upholds the rights of the needy.
Praise to God Most High.
Blessed is God and deserving of blessing. We continue with Misa Mocha.
Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Adonai, Michamocha nedar b'kodesh Nohora tehilot osei feleh. Shira chadesha, shebechu Be'ezrat Yisrael, Uvadech Unemecha, Yehuda v'Yisrael. Go Aleinu, Adonai Tzivot Shemo, Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, God Yisrael. na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Svatai Tiftach. Na 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 Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Svatai Tiftach. Na 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 Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotinu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi geula livnei v'neihem, l'ma'an shemo be'ahava. Melech ozer u'mashiach u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atav rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach, Umorid hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofe cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayim emunato, Lishenei afar, Micha mocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, melech mimit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, Keshem shemaqdishim oto b'shmei maron, Kakatuv al yad neviecha, V'karal ze el ze ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Elo kol haaretz, Kevodoto, Adir, Adirenu Adonai, Adoninu Badir, Shimcha b'chol haaretz, Baruch kevod Adonai, Bimkomo. Echadu Eloheinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu v'Hu Yashmienu, Berachamav le'nei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem, V'imloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai v'tzion, Ledor v'ador. Hallelujah. Ledor v'ador nagid godlecha, Ulanetzach netzakim kedushatcha nagdish, V'shivchacha Eloheinu mihipile lo yamush, Leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג המקדשי שבי כולם יספו ויתענגו מטובך והשבי רצית בו וקידשתו חמדת ימים אותו קראת זכר למעשה בראשית ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג המקדשי שבי כולם יספו ויתענגו מטובך והשבי רצית בו וקידשתו חמדת ימים אותו קראת זכר למעשה בראשית זכר למעשה בראשית
Before we continue with this prayer, Tefillat Halev, the prayer of the heart, yes, I want to echo Brett. Your Yismahu brings such delight to our Shabbat. So before we make this petition to God to give us a quiet heart, and we say this prayer together, I just want to take a moment to think about what our hearts need during this Shabbat and to hold that with you as you say this prayer. I need tranquility this Shabbat and maybe a little more sleep. If you want to share what your heart is in need for in the chat, so that we can all be aware of that as a community and hold you in those needs, you are welcome to. We continue on page 261, and I invite you to read with me. Holy One, give me a quiet heart and help me to hear the still, small voice that speaks within me. It calls me to come close to you and to grow in your likeness. It teaches me to do my work faithfully, even when no one's eye is upon me. It counsels me to judge others kindly and to love them freely, for it persuades me to see divinity in everyone I meet. Help me, O God, to come to the end of each day feeling that I've used its gifts wisely and faced its trials bravely.
Elohai nitzor lishoni mera usvatai midaber mirma velim kalalai nafshi tidam v'nafshi ke'afar l'kol tihiyeh Elohai Elohai nitzor lishoni mera usvatai midaber mirma velim kalalai nafshi tidam v'nafshi ke'afar l'kol tihiyeh Elohai b'tach libi b'tach libi b'tach libi b'toratecha medaber mirma Velim kalalai nafshi tidam Venafshi ke afar lechol Tihye Elohai Elohai Elohai
We oughtn't pray for what we've never known and humanity has never known. Unbroken peace, unmixed blessing. No, better to pray for pity, for indignation, discontent, the will to see and to touch, the power to do good and make new. Baruch atah Adonai, Varech et amo Yisrael ba shalom. We invite you to pray silently in the meditations of your own heart.
Ose shalom bimromav Hu yaseh shalom aleinu Ve'al kol Yisrael Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel Ve'imeru amen Ose shalom bimromav Hu yaseh shalom aleinu Ve'al kol Yisrael Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel Ve'imru imeru amen Ose shalom bimromav Hu yaseh shalom aleinu Ve'al kol Yisrael Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel Ve'imeru amen Ose shalom bimromav Hu yaseh shalom aleinu Ve'al kol Yisrael Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel Ve'imru imeru amen Ve'imru imeru amen
We now come to the time where we read our kavanah for reading our Torah without a scroll, remembering that our Sefer Torah, all of them, they're in Temple Emanu-El being guarded, and that one day we will be reunited with them, and that will be a joyous day. Adonai, our God and God of our ancestors, bless our efforts to mark this week's Torah portion, to steep ourselves in its lessons, to live lives of Torah, albeit without the presence of our holy Sefer Torah scroll. We take solace that our Torah scrolls are safe in our communal home, Temple Emanu-El. We strive to be safe and to keep those we love and our neighbors safe by staying in our homes. We may physically be distant from our Torah scroll, but may we never be spiritually distant. We dedicate today's reading to our past, our ancestors who fought to sustain our rights, traditions, narratives, and people, even during dark times, to our present, to this community, which continues to treasure the teachings of our people, to our future, when we will be reunited with our Torah scrolls, God willing, in health, safety, and peace. Today, we dedicate the reading of Torah to the Simchas that we can share as a community, as Rabbi Lewis will read Genesis 6:9, 6 through 22 from Parshat Noach from us. I invite you to put in our chat any Simchas that you are celebrating.
You ready for me to start?
Yes.
Are we waiting for the Simchas?
No, they can come in and flow. It's fine.
I wanted to say one word about Noach, and that is that usually when we think of Noah, we think of these charming toys with the cute carved animals 2 by 2, and we think of rainbows, or at least I often do. Or we get preoccupied with whether Noah, in fact, was really righteous. Was he only righteous in his generation? Was he even more righteous if he was righteous in his generation? But this week, when I looked at the Parsha, I thought, I pictured myself on the ark. I don't think I'd ever done that before. And I thought about what was it like to be on that ship and not know where you were going and not knowing when the journey would end and whether it would end, which then also led me to think about what it had been like to be on a slave ship and not know where things would end, and yet somehow maintain hope. So I think I thought of that because of the moment that we are all in. Eile toldot Noach, ish sadik, tamim haya b'dorotav, et ha'Elohim hitalech Noach, vayoled Noach shlosha banim, et Shem, et Cham, et Yafet. Vatishachet haaretz lifnei ha'Elohim, vatimolei haaretz chamas. Vayar Elohim et haaretz v'hinei nishchata, ki hishchit kol basar et darko al haaretz. Vayomer Elohim leNoach, ketz kol basar ba lefanai, ki mala haaretz chamas b'fnehem, v'hinei mashchitam et haaretz. Aseh lecha teva ratzei gofer kinim ta'aset hateva, v'chafarta ota mibayru michutz ba'kofer, v'zeh asher ta'aseh ota, shelosh me'od ama, orech hateva, 50 ama rochba, u'shloshim ama komata. So hartaseh lateva, v'el ama techalena milemala, ufetach hateva b'tzita tasim, tachtiim, shniim ushlishim ta'aseha, bani, hineni, mevi et hamabu mayim al haaretz, L'shachet kol basar asher bo ruach hayim mitachat hashamayim kol asher ba'aretz yigavar v'hakimoti et briti itach uvata el hateva ata uvanecha v'ishtecha Unshevanecha itach.
Rabbi Lewis, thank you. And thank you for teaching us your Torah. Rabbi Zamor suggests dedicating our reading today to the democratic process of voting. And we got the thumbs up from Rabbi Lewis. I think that many of us will also put a thumbs up to that. And
Or two.
two, I mean, if we have the squishy ones, we could use their thumbs too. And with that, I actually would like first, Rabbi Lewis, thank you for chanting so beautifully. And Rabbi Zamor, thank you for naming this dedication. It's something that actually influenced what we're going to learn today in our brief Torah study. So I'm going to share screen with you. Annie, can you give me sharing privileges? Make me host. I promise I'll give you host back. I promise. I am the host now. Okay, this is all the marbles are here. Okay, so
Just don't let the power go to your head. You would never do that.
well, so today we're going to do a little bit of art and music if we can. Here we go. I hope this works. That's fine. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Can everybody see that? Yeah, okay. So I don't know about everybody else, but I'm feeling a lot of tension during this time. It just feels like last night I gave some words of Torah that actually in some ways lamented the idea that we wouldn't have a flood again because God promised us that God would never do that. But it seems, I understand it now. It seems easier sometimes if a flood were just to come, the water would wash away everything and then we could start afresh. And in this covenant that we were given through the rainbow in Parshat Noach, we are actually making this promise that, one, we will never abandon that relationship with God, and God will never abandon that relationship with us. But that necessarily means that we will have to work in partnership no matter what happens forever. And there are different things that I was struck by the Tower of Babel because I actually thought it was really great that God decided to make all of these languages so that people could, speak different ways and develop their cultures differently. And that's how I read Babel as a kid. And I never, ever thought it was a bad thing. I said, well, that makes a lot of sense. My mom is Korean, and that's why I speak Korean. And, my dad comes somewhere from Ashkenaz, so that's why there's Yiddish everywhere. And sometimes we speak Korean Yiddish, and that just makes sense to me. And how beautiful is that culture? And I was thinking also about language in the context of what it can and what it cannot accomplish, and the power of words. Just because personally, I've just been focusing really on who has the privilege to say something, how those words land, and how they identify who we are. And Howard Thurman, the preacher and theologian, actually said that words were not enough. And so he always wanted to supplement his prayer and liturgy with music and with art, if possible. And so we understand through the grace of God, Rick's beautiful music, how that elevates us into prayer, and how that speaks its own Torah. But very rarely, I think, in comparison, do we get to see visual art in that way when we're looking at Torah. So this is actually can I get a thumbs up if you could see if the quality is like 80%? It's good. Okay. Thank you. So, oh, wow. You even use the emojis, Brett? Someone's like zooming on. Okay. So, this is Salvador Dali, a painting that he did of the flood narrative in 1964. And what Rabbi Lewis had mentioned earlier in terms of the images that we normally think of or the themes that we think of Noach, I looked back at my Bible book from childhood that went through each parsha, and it was actually a fun story. Like all the animals got together, everyone was behind Noach. And then I saw this painting when I was in high school, and that completely changed my perspective of this story. It was like reading a different language of Torah for me. As you could see, the ark is in the back, and what do we see in the front? We have two people here and water, disputably water, it doesn't have to be, but water that's black. And so for me, that symbolizes maybe evil or something that's very ominous coming. Whereas the emphasis of the Noach story, at least for me in preschool, was that it was a new beginning. And I first want to ask you if this is, and I invite you to unmute yourselves, which I will do also. But I want to invite you to put in the chat or share verbally, vocally, what this, is this your language of Torah? Does this speak to you, this image? And maybe there are many images of what this could look like, what the Noach narrative could look like as a painting. And this was Dali's in 64. And we want to keep in mind, I guess, like, you know, Franco and Franco's reign in Spain and his leadership there, and also the wonderful and magical mind of Salvador Dali. I don't know if anyone has ever understood it. So those two in combination, but just like any first impressions.
So as I look at this, it's there is that forebodingness of the dark image in the center, which actually I first saw as more land with like a river coming in from the ark, and but the darkness of it immediately makes me think that in this interpretation, it's not automatically going to be all sunshine and rainbows. That there's the possibility in this new start, if we work at it, that the world could become a better place. But it's not an automatic rainbow, and it takes me to the line that I've heard over the last 6 months more than once on the news. You know, for those of us who consider our democracy being at risk in its fundamental nature, there's that historical quote from one of our founding fathers that said, you know, it's yeah, we've got a democracy if we can keep it. And it's but again, it's not automatic. They have the possibility of building a brighter world, but there's work to be done.
Sure, yeah. Just saw a hand, but now it went away. Whoever raised your hand?
Hey, Becky, it's Sharon.
Oh, sure.
I guess I had always thought of it as the happy, sunshiny story of, right? But what this painting brings is that in order sometimes to get to a happy place, you have to come from a place that's bad or sad or there's a lot of darkness. And that sense of there was a, you know, it's that equilibrium kind of thing. And so it's like this,
No, it's
you
bad
go
versus
through
evil.
really hard times to get to a happy place. And so it's that reminder of that dark place.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, your videos, your boxes keep on switching every, so I see hands and then they disappear, but
Hi.
Hi.
When I saw this, I started thinking about, I've been reading a lot of things that say, are we going through the 10 plagues again? Because we've got like the fires in Colorado and California, and we've had severe flooding in a good part of the southern part of the country. And I saw this and I started thinking about the flooded areas in the southern part of the country. And I said, is this what it looks like from, this, sky or further out from the sky? Because yeah, I grew up with thinking, oh, Noah's great, happy ending, God won't do this again. But yet I'm sure that there are people in some parts of the country that would disagree with that perspective, especially after being hit with 2 and 3 hurricanes over the last couple of years. And so that's what that made me think about, is the poor people who have been rebuilding every couple of years and are still living through the floods.
Thank you. Sure, yeah. Face is disappearing. I saw another hand, whose ever hand, you can just jump in.
Okay, it's sort of a juxtaposition between evil and good, with evil in the foreground. And then, and Dali in his paintings often does this sort of thing. He's bizarre from his mustache that he sports with the little curls on it. He's just a bizarre individual. But in the far distance, with the almost like the angel of death swooping down on the people in the foreground, you can see birds in the sky and a glimmer of light, but it's distant. It's something that we have to grasp for.
Thank you. So the hope is there in the future. It's not totally lost, even though we don't see a rainbow, right? Like normally we kind of equate that rainbow as an automatic symbol, but that's actually new to me. Like there's still hope in this painting. Okay, now I'm gonna try and do a different exercise for a second. And I just want you to listen to Stravinsky's Flood. Can you see it on the screen?
Yes.
Great. I hope the sound works. Okay. So that's supposed to be the part, so Stravinsky, I actually asked my dad if he remembered seeing this. The Flood was a musical ballet that was put on television in 1962-3. The score was made by Stravinsky he spent almost 20 years creating the score for Noah's Flood. He started in 1944 with Babel, and then he moved on and it became a show. Then my dad actually tricked me and he said that he was in the ballet, and I thought, because I'm very gullible, that he was telling the truth, because why wouldn't I trust my own father? But he was not in the ballet at all, and does not remember seeing it. But that is the point in the score that you just listened to, where Noach is gathering all of the animals, and they're just about to go onto the ark. We only got to listen to about 45 seconds of it, but did that change? Was that a language of Torah that changed the way that you interpret the story,
Oh.
Steve?
Yeah, that piece is a very forbidding piece, almost Alfred Hitchcockian, if you will. So there seems to be a little sense of dread, especially on the lower registers of the score. With the high registers, almost like we're peeking around the corner, if you will, of maybe an unsure future or a journey that we're not necessarily wanting to be on. But that piece really signifies that.
So thank you. So I want to end on a hopeful note. I guess my main point of this study was not only so that we can open our minds to the different languages that people can learn in and learn from, but also keep in mind how perspective and time of what we see, experience, and read shapes the way that Torah hits us in Halev, like the heart. We are able to, like in retrospect, judge Noah's righteousness by the acts that he committed. And Rabbi Lewis had said that there's a lot of controversy over was he tzedek, what like was he truly a tzaddik, was he special for his time, and that means that like he has no lasting power as a righteous person. And in evaluating pieces of American history that we're doing now, like statues or different names and language for identity, we're also going back and looking at that work and seeing if it's a part of its time, and also understanding like what that language speaks to us during now. And I'm going to end with Noah, the movie 2014, directed by Darren Aronofsky, who I would argue is probably like a Salvador Dali of the cinematic times we live in. And this movie was pretty controversial because, well, it's pretty controversial because it really loosely interprets what happens in the Torah and answers questions that we actually don't have answers to. And so he, in an interview with The Atlantic, was talking about being a Jew and learning about the Noah story and what it meant to him to make this movie. Also, that's Russell Crowe. So, I don't know if you really think Noah looked like Russell Crowe. I'm not buying it, but it's your prerogative. This is something he wrote, The Dove, that actually we went to the same middle school, he and I, not at the same time, but I was also in class 7A. And he wrote at this time when he was learning about Noah for the first time. Evil was in the world. The laughing crowd left the foolish man, and his ark filled with animals when rain began to fall. It was hopeless. The man could not take the evil crowd with him, but he was allowed to bring his good family. The rain continued through the night, and the cries of screaming men filled the air. The ark was afloat. Until the dove returned with a leaf, evil still existed. When the rainbow reached throughout the sky, the humble man and his family knew what it meant. The animals ran and flew freely with their newborn. The fog rose and the sun shone. Peace was in the air, and it soon appeared in all of man's heart. He knew evil could not be kept away, for evil and war could not be destroyed, but neither was it possible to destroy peace. Evil is hard to end and peace is hard to begin, but the rainbow and the dove will always live within every man's heart. If you were to ask me what part of Noach I would take with me this week, it would be those last sentences. Evil is hard to end and peace is hard to begin, but the rainbow and the dove will always live within every man's heart. And, as a seventh grader, I envy Aronofsky's incredible eloquence, and also hope that you can take that with you this week and forever as you develop your own language to read and see and hear Parshat Noah.
Oh, can you make me host?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
There you go.
Whoops. There we go.
Oh, Becky, you're muted. Huh. Yeah, Becky's still muted. Or can Annie, can you unmute everybody then? Or something? There we go.
So we pray for those now. Thank you, Annie. We pray for those who have been taking care of us and working tirelessly to make sure that we are safe, that we have food, and that we are healthy. A prayer for the healthcare workers and food sellers. May the descendants of our ancestors band together to support those who put themselves at risk, to care for the sick, physicians and nurses and orderlies, lab workers and home health aides, EMTs and pharmacists, grocery store clerks and fruit sellers, who navigate the unfolding dangers of the world each day, to tend to those who have committed to heal, feed, and sustain our communities. Bless them in their coming home and in their going out. Calm their fears, sustain them. May we band together in these difficult days to support them, sustain their strength, and maintain their hope. We also pray for those in our community who are in need of healing. Salman Bendina, Gabby Kraft Buckman, Susan Klein, Summer Curter, Susan Robb, Linda Rubino, Arlene Furman, Neil Silverman, Linda Fleischer, Bernie Weinstein, Larry Maslow, Mason Rockmore, Martin Ostroff, John Hirsch, Pearl Weitzman, Aaron Taylor, Perry Shellman, Susan Schneider, Sharon Nace, Rabbi Rob Nosenchuk, Emily Tucker, Andy Secutris Diorio, Justin Jeffers, Sharon Zidney, Joyce Kagan, Marv Gersten, Gloria Ostecker, Ina Botvelvel Dryman, Bill Ward, Scott Goldberg, Rena Goslin, Gloria Saltzman, Emil Vogel, Kathy Murphy, Katie Engel, Betsy Miller, Barbara Miller, Mark Goldstein, Aviva Khana, and Mary Ann Stahl. We also think of those who you have added in this chat. Richard White, Havura, Paul Rosenberg, Claude Blaise, Gertrude Lewis, Marie Price. We continue with Misha Barak on page 371.
Yisheberach Avotenu Mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Visheberach imotenu Mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latei kedula leotze breshit, shelo asanu kegei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam. V'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz. Bayom hahu, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Bayom hahu, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad, u'shemo echad.
We continue on page 593. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen, yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives, we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. We think of those who our community is mourning today. I invite you, if you're thinking of someone during this time, to place their names in the chat. Today, our community thinks of those who have passed recently in the last 30 days. Stephen Friedlander, cousin of Jackie Mandel, Barbara Hockman, mother of Stacy Rockshar, Isaac Billman, husband of Kathy Billman, father of Sarah Billman, Anita Rotkin, mother of Stephen Rotkin, David Bregman, husband of Nancy Bregman and father of Carol Gross. We also remember Frida Beller, Rosalind Berman, Robin Blumenreich, Sylvia Braffman, Julius Bregman, George Brodsky, Lillian Brodsky, Miriam Budnick Miller, Violet Coe, Janet Depew, Harry J. Diamond, Sidney Ehrman, Dudley Feldman, Miriam Phineas, Estelle Forsmith, Rudy Fox, William Frost, Sally Garfinkel, Alan Gilman, Stephen Goldberg, Sarah Goldman, Marcus H. Grayfinger, Donald Halpern, Sandra Halpern, Beatrice Harris, Arthur Hatler, Herman Horlick, Shirley Horner, Harriet Kabat, Alvin S. Kopel, Sidney Krakauer, Dora M. Lockman, Molly Landro, Evelyn Lassman, Bennett Levy, Minnie Linder, Sylvia Matlofsky, Jerome Meiselman, Max Miller, Rhoda Moskowitz, Ann Nice, Ida Nedzwecki, Ruben Perlman, Jean H. Pittison, Deborah Pollock, Leah Reisner, Claire Rosenborough, Patricia Rosenthal, Max Selpst, Lillian Schaafman, Stephen Schulman, Esther Silverstone, Benison Sovlinski, Mabel Sternhol, Toby Tepper, Albert Weinberg, Holly Wetscher, Gloria White, Emil Zunterstein, Matilda Zunterstein, and Bernard Cora. We also remember Martin Goldberg, Minnie Linder, Rich Kellner. Please rise for the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra hirute ve'yamlik malchute, b'chayachon uvyomechon u'chaye zekol beit Yisrael, b'agala u'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarak le'olam olmei olmaya, yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitba'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalach v'yitalal shemei rekudusha berechu, la'ela min kol birchata v'shirhata, tush behata v'nechamata, damiram be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'heim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. We think of our loved ones who death has recently taken from us, those who died at the season and years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. We keep their names and their memories within our hearts always. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing.
Olam chesed yibane. Yadadai, dai, dai, da, 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 da. Olam chesed yibane. Yadadai, dai, dai, da, 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 da. Olam chesed yibane. Yadadai, dai, dai, da, 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 da. Olam chesed yibane. Yadadai, dai, dai, da, 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 da. I will build this world from love. Yadadai, dai, dai, da, 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 da. And you must build this world from love. Yadadai, dai, dai, da, 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 da. And if we build this world from love, yadadai, dai, dai, da, 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 then God will build this world from love. Yadadai, dai, dai, da, 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 da. So I invite you, as we sing these words, to tie the words and the sentiment back to our Torah study, back to everything that we have learned to look in a new way at the passage of Noach, that the world is not going to be all sunshine and rainbows unless we work at it. We've got the promise, but it takes work. I will build this world from love. Yadadai, dai, dai, da, 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 da. And you must build this world from love. Yadadai, dai, dai, da, 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 da. And if we build this world from love, yadadai, dai, dai, da, 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 then God will build this world from love. Yadadai, dai, dai, da, 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 da. Olam chesed yibane. Yadadai, dai, dai, da, 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 da. Olam chesed yibane. Yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai.